It's a little chilly today, and I'm really excited about the recipe that we're going to cook. It's a dish that I grew up eating called Kor Sach Chrouk, and I actually ordered this book online from Amazon, and I'm super excited to cook from it today. It's called Nhum, which means eat, I believe. It's by Chef Naks and Natalie Lee. So written photography is by her, I believe. But yeah, I just got the book, and it's a beautiful book, and it really dives into the Cambodian culture and history. So she spent the last couple of years of her life being the Julia child of Cambodian cuisine, and today we're gonna make one of my favorite dishes, Kor Sach Chrouk. I will kind of go off her recipe, cooking not precisely to her recipe, but kind of going off it. And it's a little chilly today, so I think this is gonna be a really comforting dish. So stick around. If you like what you see so far, make sure you smash the like button and subscribe to see more foodie content like this. Without further ado, let's get started. So first things first, let's talk about ingredients. It isn't too much of an extensive ingredient list. There are only a few ingredients here, including pork belly, which I have here. This is a heritage pork. If you can tell by the texture, the color of the meat, it's a little more red. It's not gonna be like really white and really pink. That's more of like a commodity pig. Those are just like raised in large numbers, and they're really treated poorly, and they're just slaughtered for their meat. Heritage raised pigs are treated a little bit better, and they have a little more deeper and richer flavor, and it shouldn't taste like nothing, right? Pork has a different flavor than chicken. It shouldn't be another white meat. That's not what we want. So the ingredients here that we're gonna be using eggs. Chef Naks uses duck eggs. I just have some chicken eggs in the fridge, so I'm just gonna use those. We're just gonna boil them off like we normally would. So we're gonna bring our water to a boil. Once the water is boiling, we're gonna add our eggs to the pot, and then we're gonna let it go on low heat for about 9 minutes covered. Some other ingredients we need is garlic, which you're pretty familiar with, just gonna be crushed and chopped. So I don't think you can ever have too much garlic, especially in a rich, savory dish like this. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do a whole clove. We're just gonna pound it slightly, breaking it. If you have a cleaver, more power to you. Like if someone puts a lot of garlic in their dish, like, you know they love you, because garlic takes a long time to deal with. So there's a couple ways you can cut garlic. You can just go through and do it like an onion, or you can just go through, cut little slivers, and just cut them into little juliennes, and then turn them and cut like that. I mean, either way, if you want it pretty fine, you can just go back and chop it up. But I'm gonna keep it pretty coarse today, for the sake of this being like a rough stick comfort dish. It should feel that way when you're cooking, you know? Like if I wanna get love transported through a dish, I'm gonna cook with love. If I wanna get comfort cooked through a dish, I'm gonna, you know, cook where I'm comfortable. I think that just makes sense, you know? You get what you give. Some other ingredients we need, palm sugar, which is a new one. If you're not familiar with palm sugar is, looks like this. They come in pucks, or they can come in a powder form, or they can come in larger pucks. You can grind them up, grate them, or chop them to help them caramelize better, but I'm just gonna throw them in whole and let them caramelize. So this is a caramelized pork stew, so this is where we're gonna get our caramelization from. The flavor of this is a lot more smoother than using like a granulated white sugar, or it doesn't have that like bitter, acrid taste from like brown sugar, that molassesy taste. So this is a lot smoother, and it's really low on the glycemic index. So eating this, you're not gonna have an intense sugar crash like you would from having a processed sugar like sugar from beets or brown sugar. So palm sugar, get yourself some palm sugar. You can find a link for that down below. Some other ingredients we're also gonna have: salt, which you're pretty familiar with, oyster sauce, which is a classic sauce in Asian cuisine, and we have soy sauce. Let's talk about soy sauces. We have two different types of soy sauces that we could use. I would prefer they're both green bottles. So this is the low sodium Kinkamun soy sauce, and this is a soy sauce that a lot of us grew up eating. It is a seasoning sauce. I don't know what it's the difference between seasoning sauce and soy sauce. This is basically just a combination of the same thing, soybeans and a bunch of different flavors, which make this very delicious route to go. And I think I'm gonna go with this route today because it's good. Another ingredient that you might not be familiar with, but you probably are familiar with, is black pepper. Right, so black pepper we're actually gonna use is called Compot black pepper. I'm just reading this right here. It's from the nutrient-rich soils of Cambodia's Mekong Delta. It gave rise to some of the world's most distinctive, flavorsome, and aromatic peppers, available through Mekong Pepper as specially selected mild, medium, and strong blends. So this Mekong Pepper brand, they have different variations from mild, medium, and strong peppercorns. So these are like a terroir specialty black peppercorn that have like a very unique, distinctive black pepper taste. From my experience, they're a lot more aromatic and they have a nice punch. I have the strong blend here. It's not for the faint of heart. Mekong Pepper's strong blend combines the darkest flavors of Kampot, Mondulkiri, and Memot's peppers to reveal a sharp mustardy aroma with hints of eucalyptus that spread warmly over the tongue and throat. This blend is suited best to sauce-heavy dishes and premium-grade meats and zesty salads. So that's what we're going to use this today because this is a hearty dish for sure. So we're going to toast this in the pan to release some of the aromas, and then we're going to grind it up. And so it's a little bit coarse, but pretty fine as well. If you have a pepper cracker mill or whatever, you can put that in there and do a little crack. All right, so starting off this dish, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take care of our pork. So we take the pork, we're going to cut it into strips. We're going to cut little cubes out of it. I'm going to leave the skin on, which is fine. I think this is a good size. So we'll cut them into like these little bite-sized nuggets. And that way I can kind of think if I want to do something different with it, I can, but I don't have to. Remember, the skin is on this too, so that's going to add a different texture. So I'm just going to flip it over. This is going to help make it easier to cut. And just go down. You want to cut them all evenly sized because you want them to cook at an even time, right? If they're all different sizes, they're all going to cook different times. Very important. So about this is the size that I like. Okay, there we have it. Our pork is nice and diced up. Okay, I'm gonna set that aside till we're ready to go. The black pepper's gonna take care of. Now we're gonna take our palm sugar. I'm gonna throw these pucks into over a low heat and let it start to caramelize slowly. Once the sugar melts, then we're going to add in our garlic. And then I'm gonna let that go in with the palm sugar. Once it creates a nice little syrup, just give it a nice little stir. Ooh, that smell of garlic and the sugar is pretty insane. And then we got our soy sauce and oyster sauce here. We're gonna add that. And let that cook down. And once it comes up to a nice like simmer, I'm gonna add our pork belly inside there. Careful with that steam, if that steam burns. Oh, that is a beautiful sound. Whew, you got that sweet caramel smell and that savoriness from the soy sauce and the oyster sauce. Now we're gonna add our pork belly in here. And we kinda wanna see if we can develop like a nice crust, a caramelization on the pork before I actually add the stock or the water. So if you have chicken stock or pork stock, that would be really nice to enhance the flavor to let this braise in. But there's already going to be so much umami and savoriness coming from the soy sauce and oyster sauce to really heighten this dish up. So our black pepper was toasted already, so it's really aromatic. So we're going to throw about 2 teaspoons in here. And it's pretty coarse too, if you see it. I am, however, going to hold off to salting the dish until the end, just because there is a lot of salt coming from the oyster sauce and from the soy sauce. So I'm going to hold off on doing that until later. And now we're ready to braise it pretty much. Okay, I'm going to pour water in on the top. Just enough. I just want enough to cover the pork. I don't want too much to dilute it. And I'm just going to rinse off the bowl that I was using, that was in the sauce, that had the oyster sauce and the soy sauce. All right. So if you notice this, like, if you don't use hot water, some of the sugar is going to seize up a little bit. That's going to be all right, because we're going to actually just let this braise and let it reduce. Save onto the spoon, because as it gets hotter, this sugar will just melt right off into your soup. So I'm going to bring this up to a boil and then turn it down to a simmer and then let it go. We don't want to boil this because when we boil meat, what's going to happen is a process called seniorisis, is where the actual meat becomes tough and tense because of the pressure around it that's being built up by that rough bubbling action. So gentle simmer, and then we're going to have a nice tender pork product in the end. So at this point, I see the bubbles starting to kick in. So I'm going to drop the heat. I'm going to put a lid on it, and I'm just going to let it go for 30 minutes. Alexa, set a timer for 30 minutes.
30 minutes Starting now.
Half an hour now. Took the lid off. I'm just gonna add the eggs to it. Eggs are just peeled, boiled for about 10 minutes. Oh, baby. So this dish here gets served with just some good old white rice in the bowl. Make sure you flush your rice. I'm just gonna put some white rice down. And then we have this beautiful Kor Sach Chrouk, just such an easy, comforting dish of braised pork belly in this caramelized soy sauce and the egg. Like, this is, the black pepper comes through. It's so aromatic. It's a beautiful balance between the sweetness and the caramelization. So it's not overwhelmingly sweet as you think it would be, but it has a really nice, it's just a really nice balance between like the sweet, savory, and a little bit of spice from that black pepper. We'll try this pork right here. What you need to do is you freaking come in with a drip shot. Oh, wow. That's what I'm talking about. It's like not the prettiest thing to look at, but you put some scallions on there, a little crispy garlic, you can garnish it up. But this, it's just nothing better for a freaking fall day. So, before I eat too much and dive in and go crazy and forget that the camera's here, definitely check out the recipe. Try cooking this at home. Guys, Cambodian cuisine is delicious and you have to try cooking it. It's not the same as Thai, Vietnamese, Laotian. There's very similarities between all the cuisines in Southeast Asia, but there are differences. So definitely look into them and try them out. If you are interested in getting this book that I'm cooking from, Chef Naks Cookbook, you can check it down below. I'll put a link for that below, as well as I'll put a link down to my ebook where you have my recipe as well as the video tutorial on how to make these dishes. This is so good, like this pork belly. If you like what you saw, you want to learn more of my recipes, learn my dishes, definitely consider subscribing and hitting that like button, and I'll see you guys soon. And remember, I know you love food. My goal is to get you to love food more. It's like I want to bring this to the United States in a different way. So let's take this one step farther. Actually, I want to let this chill. I want to let this pork belly chill for a little bit, and then I'm going to take it out of the broth. And I want to reduce the broth to a thick sauce, and then I want to bread and fry these guys. Kor Sach Chrouk nuggets. Let's try it out.